Now.
Okay. Hello. My name is Chris, and tonight we're going to talk about the origins of the Nintendo company. So, this starts in 1889, and Fujita Mikami starts this company, and he does trading cards. And this company does like trading cards, almost like a 52 deck that we have today, that you can play like a bunch of games. And everyone goes apeshit. They love it. So he's selling lots of this shit. So we'll fast forward a little bit, and his grandson, Hiroshi, is running the company. It's 1953. So he's in the 50s, and Hiroshi comes across this idea and will make the cards plastic. And that's the only company that makes plastic like cards is Nintendo. And he decides, like, so Nintendo comes from the words nin, which means entitled, and tendo, which means heaven. So you put them together, it basically means luck be with heaven. So there's something you can learn. So Hiroshi's doing great. Everything's coming up money. And in 1959, he meets with Walt Disney, which really propels him because he wants to put Walt Disney's characters on his cards. And Walt says, sure, that'd be great. So they do it, and fucking money. Nintendo is in the fucking black. They are showing money like it's going out of style. So then they fast forward a little bit more, a couple of years. It's 1962, everything's going great. And then they decide, we're going to take Nintendo public. We're going to trade stocks, we're going to make money. And they do, mad money. Everything's great. But what happens is the market's saturated. All of a sudden, people are like, plastic playing cards, I don't care about that much anymore. So the stocks start to fall. They go from like 200 yen, which is, I don't even know what that's worth, to 60. And people are like, fuck it, we don't care. So then Hiroshi's like, what am I going to do? Well, 1965, he's hanging on. And he meets this guy who gets hired onto Nintendo as an engineer. His name is Gunpei Yokoi. And he's doing his thing for a couple of years. In 1970, Hiroshi's touring the offices. He sees Gunpei. He's got this metal arm thing that he's made. This just little arm thing that picks up shit and does whatever. He says, and Hiroshi says, that's awesome. Do you think you could have that for us by Christmas? We want to market this. And Gunpei's like, yeah, I can do that. So they do it, and like 1 million units sell by Christmas. Boom! They're black. Money's like this. They're going out of style. Everything's great. So it's 1970s, and they come up with some ideas because like console and like video arcade games are going great. So they decide they're going to make some games for some companies. They come out with a bunch of shit, and there's like a racing game. And then in 1975, they come out with a little game. You might have heard of it. It's called Donkey Kong, and everybody goes literally ape shit over this game. It's fucking awesome. And Atari 2600 and the Intellivision, ColecoVision, they're selling this thing out like fucking mad. Boom! They're back on top again. Everybody's buying Donkey Kong. It has a little guy on it, you might know. The little guy fighting against Donkey Kong and trying to crush their pitches. He'll come out later. Never mind. So, they get into the 1970s, and Gunpei is doing great. Because he's built a love tester and a bunch of electronic games. They love it, and everything's great. But they say, you know what? We're tired of making games for everybody. We're going to bring our own console into the marketplace. So this is like 1980. They're going to bring out the Famicom. So they bring out the Famicom, and it's only in Japan that you can get this thing. And it sells like, I don't know, a shit ton of units. Everyone's loving the Famicom, but got a lot of glitches, and the chips suck. Everything's going bad on it. So they're kind of losing money again. So everybody hates Nintendo. They think Nintendo is the shit. So they go a little bit forward, a couple of years to 1983, and Nintendo's like, hey, we got nothing. Let's see if we can partner with Atari, and we'll get some games out again, like we used to do, because we did games, and everyone loved it, Donkey Kong and shit. Atari is going through a big thing. 1993 is like the biggest, hugest crash in video game history. Like, that was like when E.T. came out and they fucking buried it in a landfill and bulldozed that shit, and it took like fucking 30 years for someone to find it, and it was fucking awful because everyone hated it. So nobody wanted it. So Atari said, fuck you, Nintendo, we don't want your shit. So what happened was, thank God, because Nintendo went public back in the 60s and they were selling off like fucking taxi companies and short-term like love hotels where you could rent by the hour just to shit and fucking like fuck people, and that was great. And vacuum cleaners and toy sales. Thank God everything tanked by the toy sales. So they were like, we're hanging on. What are you gonna do? It's the 80s. You got to come up with something. So they fixed the Famicom glitch in 1983. And they said, hey, let's market this to everybody. They marketed it to the world. But instead of Famicom, they said, let's call it the Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES. And everyone went fucking bonkers. And they said, we won't let third-party people do this. We're going to do it ourselves. We're going to bring out fucking that little guy from Donkey Kong that everybody knows, Mario. They came out with Super Mario Brothers in 1983. It was fucking the shit. Everyone went bonkers. So they made like mad money again. They're raking in the cajillionaires, billionaires. These guys are off the fucking hook. So they went like from this to this and this and this and this in like 100 years. And since then, since 1983, they came out the Nintendo Entertainment System. They've been like the shit, and that's the end.